In the following video, we're going to listen to another one of these, how do I call them? Sabbath trashing preachers or Sabbath bashing preacher. But this one here is different because what I saw in the video was the vitriol and the bigotry and the hate that was mixed with a level of ignorance and lack of understanding for the SDA people and the doctrine which we believe. And I'm going to let you watch this video. It's about 6 minutes long. Once he's done, I'm going to share my thought at the end. I'm not going to debunk his arguments right now. I plan on making another video this week where I address some of the issues that are going to be brought up in this video. So I'm not running away from the arguments, but I want to preface somewhat to share about some of the foundation being led in the rubble for persecution of God's people. Like you can see it in the language when we read what the Bible says, that a time is coming that whosoever killeth you will think he doeth God's service. We're going to have a time of trouble such as never was. You shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. We are told that in Revelation 12, verse 12, that Satan is come down unto us having great wrath because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. When you read these passages, you don't oftentimes think about the preliminary steps that are going to lead to these things to take place. And we look at the Christian world today, you think there is no way this could possibly happen. But again, if you read the Bible, you find out that Cain persecuted Abel, right? The brethren of Joseph went after Joseph. It was his fellow brethren who did that. In the life of the disciples, the persecution came from people who were supposedly people of God, right? They were supposed to be the people of the book, but they were the one who persecuted God's people. And what history tells us is that some of our worst persecutors are going to come from people who claim to believe in the same God we worship. But because of certain teachings and certain doctrines and certain position that we hold, these things are going to push us in the forefront and places us in a very difficult position as a people. It's not a time to be afraid. It's not a time to be cowardice. It's a time to know what we believe, why we believe it, where it is found, and how to defend our faith. And brace yourself for the worst and hoping for the best. Anyway, let me run this video, and after this video ends, I'll come back and share a final thought with you.
Hey everybody, hope all is well. Eric Mason here. I wanted to do a quick, it's going to be a little bit longer of a video. So apparently I was on the Perry's. Actually, we filmed it last year, but it ended up coming out this year. I know it went out some kind of way last year. And in a certain segment, we were talking about cults and different cultural ideologies based on my last Urban Apologetics book, Urban Apologetics, Cults and Cultural Ideologies. And one of the parts of the video, I began to talk about SDA people, Seventh-day Adventists. And so we didn't think anything of it. And so a bunch of SDA, I guess, apologists kind of went up on YouTube and started doing a bunch of videos on, you know, Jackie, Preston, me. And that segment of me calling SDAism a cult. And so when we talk about defining what a cult is, you know, my book is literally, by God's grace, about that particular subject matter. And I was excited to do that because I think people need to understand, first off, page 151, what a cult is and what it isn't. But the main thing is I had three levels. I had cultic, cultish, cult, and cults. And so when we talk about cults, the dictionary defines a cult as a religion or religious sect generally considered to be extremist or false, which follows often living in an unconventional manner under the guidance of an authoritarian charismatic leader. And so and that's just an initial definition of it. So I saw one video where they were trying to break down, they didn't even read the book. They got it, they scared to read it. And SDA folks, which we love, like we love you, but you're in a cult. And so when we talk about this whole idea of why we call it a cult, I just want to do this video real quick because I want you to answer this question, SDA folks. My SDA friends, I want you to ask this question. Is Jesus Christ the eternal, existing, co-equal, co-eternal Son of God? Or do you use Daniel chapter 12, verse 1 to say he's the Archangel Michael? I want to ask that question, right? I also want to talk about investigative judgment. Do you know what that is? Investigative judgment? Look it up if you don't know, because some of you all who are pushing back as SDAs don't know your own doctrine. Investigative judgment is the fact that you're not sure of your salvation, okay? So I want you to look that up. Also, in my book, Elsie, shout out to EJ, he talks about, now listen to this, Satan is a scapegoat and ultimate sin bearer for us. So, and they use the Leviticus passage for that, right? Let's read what it says here. Adventists at every level of Adventism teach that Satan is the scapegoat and sin bearer referenced in Leviticus 16. Their official doctrinal statement of faith, Seventh-day Adventist believes, this is a quote from y'all, a careful examination of Leviticus 16 reveals that Azazel represents Satan, not Christ, as some have thought. This doctrine is closely tied to investigative judgment and is another unorthodox, and I would say heretical, let me put this on sleepy mode real quick. Let me put this on sleepy mode. Hopefully it's still, it's still recording. Okay. So I put it on sleepy mode because people was texting me. So real quick. And so it says, the doctrine is closely related to investigative judgment and is another unorthodox doctrine held by the SDA Church. Adventists have tortured scripture, listen, to make Satan a scapegoat because Ellen G. White, look up Ellen G. White, the racist woman in the mid-1800s who is one of the foreparents of the SDA faith. Don't act like y'all recanted anything that Ellen G. White said, right? Has said the scapegoat typified Satan, she says, and the author of sin, upon whom the sins of the truly penitent will finally be placed. She repeats, Christ will place all their sins upon Satan, the originator and instigator of sin. The scapegoat bearing the sins of Israel went away into a land not inhabited. So Satan, bearing guilt of all sins, which has caused God's people to commit, will be for 1,000 years confined on earth. And so you got here that you all are saying that Satan is the ultimate sin bearer for us. And this is a quotation from your prophet that you all teach. And we're going to do a big live soon because a bunch of us with some SDA apologists who are way more advanced in their ability to talk through this stuff than I am. But it is very interesting that that Jesus ultimately isn't seen by you all as the ultimate sin bearer. And you go through the entire book of Hebrews, and it talks about he is our sacrifice. Just read Hebrews chapter 10. Since the law has only a shadow of things to come and not reality itself of those things, it can never perfect the worshipers by the same sacrifices they continually offer year after year. Like, what are we talking about? For it is impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sin. Who took away sins? Jesus Christ took away sins. And so, anyway, I can go on and on and on with this, but we got investigative judgment. Here we're talking about the scapegoat doctrine. So all of the SDA, and I say this in love. I'm not mad at y'all, beating y'all up. We're trying to help you all to come out of this cult. Like, if you correct me, if you all don't believe this, correct me if y'all don't believe in this. Now, do you all believe that the Sabbath, that Sunday is the mark of the beast? Because Christians worship on Sunday. Listen, Christians never said Sunday was the Sabbath day. And the Sabbath day isn't the only day to worship on. In Acts chapter 2, they went to the temple every day. So people went often to the temple, and there were temple teachings going on, temple readings. I mean, you can go through the New Testament and just see that. So yeah, so I mean, I can go on and on and on, but those are the main few things that I wanted. I'm just peeking at some stuff. If you want more information, my boy Elsie has a 3-volume set. He's a former SDA evangelist and teacher, and ordained in their church, in their ministry. And he came out of this, and he wrote 3 volumes on it, and it goes into unreal detail about documents that SDA don't want Christian. They are, listen, SDAs are not a Protestant denomination of the Christian church. It is not a Christian church. It is heterodoxy, and it is heretical.
As you just heard, and again, this is like such a common thing. I've noticed for the past couple years or so, there's been this level of vitriol and hatred and bigotry toward the Seventh Adventist Church in ways I've never seen before. Like you could tell that the enemy is really upset. It's like I've said again, I'm not gonna debunk any of the questions that were asked. It's actually easy to debunk them. With a 10 minutes Bible study, I can easily show how flawed the arguments are and the level of lack of understanding that's happening here. But that's a future uploads, and I promise they're coming. But what I do notice is the foundation being laid for massive oppression and persecution of God's people. And when we read these things from the Bible in the spirit of prophecy, we oftentimes don't think that it could actually take place. But videos like this is indoctrinating the mind to create the level of vitriol and hatred for the people of God, which could potentially lead to what we know as a time of trouble. Which could lead to massive persecution. You know, when you study about genocidal ideologies before persecution takes place and extermination of a group of people, whether it is Cambodia, whether it is the Tutsis, or even what happened in Nazi Germany with the Holocaust and so on. There's always like a number of stages that the group of people go through, but oftentimes while they're going through it, most people don't even realize it's happening. It's not always on the surface, but there is this symbolization, classification. There is also discrimination, and there's also step number 4 is dehumanization. So once you dehumanize someone, it is like the door is wide open now for whatever it is that people want to do to them. And you can see some of these people, they are dehumanizing the Adventist people. They're doing it with the words, but it's happening a little bit at a time. They've been calling them cults, sect, all these different things, just because there are doctrines that they don't understand, right? They have an issue with Ellen White, or they have certain things. Instead of sitting down with a Seventh-day Adventist face to face and have a discussion and understand why they believe what they believe, instead they start calling Seventh-day Adventist people certain names, which is part of the dehumanization process. That's what leads the way for massive persecution, and that's something you also need to understand. And I can smell it. It's so obvious that these things are true and will take place, and we should expect it from fellow brethren in the faith, right? We should expect it from people who claim to be Christians, not people who are not Christians. So anyway, a lot more could be said about this. I wanted to just share a final thought on that. Be prayerful, be mindful. This is a common thing as God's people. I'm not asking for us to be fearful, to be doubtful. I think we should embrace whatever time we now have to understand the truth that we believe, but at the same time to be very careful um, about some of the things that are being said. Be mindful of it, and also be a student of the word. Be a student of the word. You're gonna have to learn what it means to give a testimony for what you believe before kings, before men. Um, I think yeah, friends, we gotta get ready. We gotta get ready. And I'm hoping this message will come to you from the perspective of a man who sees this matter and say, "Oh yeah, yeah, we are wrapping up, guys. We are heading home. We are heading home soon. But we know that in order for Jesus Christ to come, these issues will come to the surface, and the people of God will be pushed in the forefront. Um, they have to be seen as cult. They have to be seen as sect. They have to be seen as a hatred, a bigot to society, an issue to society that they need to get rid of, a cancer, right? The people who've turned the world upside down, just like Elijah. Elijah was called a troubler of the people. We're going to be seen as that. We should expect that. We should know it's coming and should prepare ourselves for it as well. Anyway, future video is going to come where I spend time debunking this matter. I didn't want to do that today. I just wanted to give you a heads up and warning and be aware of this. This is such a common thing. This is what I have a YouTube channel. I've been doing a whole lot of preaching and discussing things, but yeah, friends, be prayerful. I'm hoping people like this, when you see what the enemies without are doing, maybe we can learn to love each other and put aside our differences. When we are fighting among us, when I'm not denying the fact we have far more to feel from within, but while we are fighting among us, we have people from without who are already, they are surrounding the camp. And it's like, well, now we as Seventh Adventists going to put aside our differences and be and unite. And I think stuff like this, when there is a common enemy, when we begin to see like, yo, we need to stop fighting with each other because we got folks that are thinking these thoughts that are prepping the mind for massive persecution in the future. And you guys are fighting among yourselves. Like, you need to stop. Like, you really need to stop and learn to love each other and put aside your differences and work on sharing this gospel, preach that everlasting gospel before Jesus returns. Anyway, friends, I just wanted to share that final thought with you. Give me your perspective on this. Like and subscribe to the page, click the bell icon for more. I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one. Bye.